away from the start of the World Championship for the CIK FIA KZ class. Watch the lights at the bottom left of your screen. That's what the drivers see. And Ardigo a little bit slower away than Camponeschi, I thought, but Camponeschi not trying to challenge Ardigo. So Ardigo 1, Camponeschi 2, and Ardigo immediately looking over to the left. And both of those front row starters have somehow conjured themselves well clear of the rest of the field. Jorik Pex having made a good start there, kart number 6, although I think he got a bit out of position there and possibly losing a place. And a good start for Anthony Abbas in the Sodi kart. But it's 1 and 2 for those Tony Kart Works drivers at the moment, with Ardigo leading Camponeschi. We know nothing of any kind of team orders or anything like that. We assume they'll come out and race 100% for each other, or 100% for themselves, is what I'm trying to say. Ardigo leads in the early stages from Camponeschi. Good start by Abbas, good start by Pex. I saw Rick Drazen, I didn't immediately see in the mix. Thought I saw Mirko Torsolini, but we're definitely looking at the 1 and 2, which is Marco Ardigo and Flavio Camponeschi. Good start by both of them. Flavio Camponeschi actually not as close as he was moments ago, but close enough. Coming round to complete the opening lap of 18. It's Torsolini in 3rd place, Paolo De Conto 4th, Jorik Pex 5th, Jordan Lennox-Lamb 6th, Arno Kozlinski 7th, Rick Drazen fell away to 8th, that's why I didn't see him. Patrick Hayek 9th, and Anthony Abbas has dropped places after a good start in the Sodi kart to 10th. But already Ardigo and Camponeschi just putting a little bit of distance, only a little bit, between themselves and the chasing pack. Anthony Abbas from the 2nd row going to be disappointed to be running in 10th place at the moment. Bas Lammers in 15th place. That already represents 1 place that is gained. Jonathan Tonon of Belgium will be disappointed to be in 20th place, even having started as far back as he had. Well, Marco Ardigo and Flavio Camponeschi, as I say, from the same team, but we assume that this will be an out-and-out race, as it would be if it was Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. Marco Ardigo vastly more experienced than Flavio Camponeschi, but Flavio Camponeschi, is it reasonable to assume that the guy who's that little bit junior, incidentally Torsolini has gone into 3rd place past Paolo De Conto. That's definitely Mirko Torsolini, and not only has Torsolini in the Birrell gone into 3rd place, he's getting a little bit closer to Flavio Camponeschi. I was just going to ask the rhetorical question, is it reasonable to assume that the less experienced driver, Flavio Camponeschi, might gain from the youthful eye to brain, hand to eye coordination? Hey, that front running 2 is a front running 4. Marco Ardigo leads, Flavio Camponeschi 2nd, Mirko Torsolini 3rd, Paolo De Conto in 4th place, and after that little gap between them, Jorik Pex leads the chasing pack in the CRG in 5th place. Marco Ardigo puts a little bit of distance. This is Grifoni 1, Grifoni 2, Grifoni 3 through what I call a mini serpentine, and that takes them onto the Sarno turn, which is the final turn of the circuit, and brings them onto the home straight. So this will be the completion of lap 3 of 18, and Marco Ardigo, world champion in 2007, world champion in 2008, but in the direct drive class. Twice a world champion, once a World Cup winner, but looking for a gearbox world title. And here's a bid to split them, and the bid has worked, because Paolo De Conto getting himself up in between the Tony Karts of Marco Ardigo and Flavio Camponeschi. Let's look at that again. Flavio Camponeschi didn't leave a lot of room, did he? Marco Ardigo chopped across to make the exit difficult for De Conto, but De Conto has executed the move, and the Birrell of Paolo De Conto has split the Tony Karts of Marco Ardigo and Flavio Camponeschi. And now Mirko Torsolini in 4th place, also putting pressure on Flavio Camponeschi. Is that going to be a challenge? No, it isn't. The angles were wrong there. And Torsolini not in a position to get a challenge on Camponeschi. But Camponeschi just a little bit rattled now, in the sense that he's lost his 2nd place, and there is some sort of difference between himself and the third place driver, so anybody wanting to make an attack, and the first person would be Mirko Torsolini, has the opportunity to do it. They're not balked by the front running two, and De Conto putting pressure on Ardigo. Ardigo still got the lead. Ardigo, now was he just showing a little gap to De Conto so he could sell him a dummy? Well, and Ben Hanley starting 32nd on the second last row has set the fastest lap early in the race. Ben Hanley, of course, driving for the ART GP team, powered by a TM motor. So Italy in the first four. Jorrit Peks from the Netherlands, the first non-Italian bidding for this World Championship. Gary Carlton from the United States has made a good start in relative terms to 13th. And as I'm looking elsewhere, Paolo De Conto in kart number 7 has taken the lead from Marco Ardigo. So as I'm trying to look at the positions a little bit further down, I've missed the action on the circuit, but you saw it, you knew that it happened. The Birel of Paolo De Conto has gone into the lead on lap 5 over Marco Ardigo. Ardigo now going to have to play catch-up for the first time in racing here this weekend, because he won his heats from pole position, he won the pre-final from pole position, and the body language of Marco Ardigo is, I'm going to get back there as quickly as I can. Flavio Campaneschi close in third place, Mirko Torsolini in fourth place, and Ardigo just having a look. Let's have a look now. And Ardigo didn't make a big mistake, he left enough room, and Paolo De Conto absolutely threw that Birel TM into the gap that was there, and by that time Marco Ardigo not in a position to make a defence. We're on lap 6 of 18 now. Paolo De Conto leading Marco Ardigo. They're all Italians in the top 4. It's Birel leading Tony Kart. Tony Kart in third place, and Torsolini on a Birel in fourth place. All of those chassis manufacturers, main factories of course here in Italy, as we're racing in Italy, so no shortage of local interest. There's a big queue to get in here this morning for the cash paying spectators to come and watch. You of course have got the advantage of watching it at the place of your choice, your home or wherever you are. Hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. We're on lap 7 of 18, Paolo De Conto. Well, De Conto's lead over Marco Ardigo is about 1.5 kart lengths. The gap between Ardigo and Campaneschi, probably 2 kart lengths now. And Torsolini in fourth place is not quite as close to Flavio Campaneschi as he was. And there's the move by Ardigo. Ardigo waiting for his moment. It didn't take a long time to come. It's on lap 7. And Marco Ardigo, who started on pole position but relinquished the lead to Paolo De Conto, has retaken the lead on lap 7. Marco Ardigo in kart number 3 puts that Tony Kart back in front of the Birel, but Paolo De Conto, his body language is exactly the same. Here's the move again in slow motion. Paolo De Conto recognising that he can't chop across Ardigo and take them both out, but De Conto's body language just the same as Ardigo's in the similar situation. I'm coming after you. Yes, you passed me, but I'm coming back. Well, in the case of Ardigo, he's delivered what he was thinking. A little bit of a, what shall we say, a little bit of a bump there that Paolo De Conto picked up that wouldn't have helped him, but he's still getting closer to Ardigo. And Ben Hanley from downfield in 19th place, having started in 32nd place, picks up another fastest lap. Ben Hanley drives from out of the top 30 into the top 20, and we're not at the 1/3 race distance. Well, we are, we just passed. We're just coming up to the 1/3 race distance. Actually, my maths are wrong. We're just beyond the 1/3 race distance. But what I'm trying to say is there's plenty of time for Ben Hanley to make further forward progress. Whether he can get into the top half dozen, well, that would be a big ask. Arno Kozlinski, the 2009 world champion, running, I think, in 7th place there. Anthony Abbas, who fell to 10th, has climbed up to 9th, but no better. Confirmation of Ben Hanley in 19th place. David Foré, who was 30th for a long time, climbs up to 25th place. He'd like, in fact, 24th place, doesn't he? But better than that would be what he would hope for. Marco Ardigo is just where he wants to be in the sense that he's in the lead. He's not just where he wants to be in the sense that he's broken the challenge of Paolo Di Conto. There was 0.267 of a second between them at the end of lap 8, but Marco Ardigo, let me just have a look who did the quicker lap there. Oh, Ardigo did a 65.82 against Paolo Di Conto's 65.97. So Marco Ardigo has found a squirt of speed that is above and beyond what Paolo Di Conto's been able to find. Having said that, we're only talking, what, 11 thousandths of a second, so you don't blink an eye in that time. But of course, in gearbox karting, in karting at the topmost level, that can be a very significant differential. Kart number 4 going through that you saw there was Bas Lammers, so working his way forward. Bas Lammers is now in the top 10, having been well outside the top 10. Paolo Di Conto not quite having to defend from Flavio Campaneschi, but it wouldn't be too long before he would have to. In fact, now Flavio Campaneschi turning the wick up a little bit, isn't he? But Mirko Torsolini 4th and Rick Drazen 5th also involved. They are the top 5 that you see, and the only one who's detached is the leader Marco Ardigo, who's pulled himself half a second and a little bit more clear of the chasing drivers. Marco Ardigo, very pleasant guy to talk with. Paolo Di Conto I don't know quite so well. Paolo Di Conto really in a crucial stage of the race now at halfway. He's got to ensure that Flavio Campaneschi and Mirko Torsolini don't go past him, but he can't let Marco Ardigo kick away much further than this if he himself has designs on being a 2014 World Motorsport Champion. We're on lap 10 here at Sarno. I remind you that Sarno is about half an hour's drive south of Napoli, south of Naples. Oh, and Marco Ardigo has turned up the wick, hasn't he? 1 minute 5.777, and 65.7 is seriously swift. Paolo Di Conto's quickest time is 65.91. Flavio Campaneschi's quickest time 65.94, and Mirko Torsolini's quickest time 65.97. Rick Drazen's done a 65.93. So Marco Ardigo has found a 1/10 of a second and more than any of the 4 drivers behind him have done. And you know what? That could be going some way to explaining why he's pulling away from them, as he is. We're on lap 11 of 18, and Paolo Di Conto coming under pressure again from Flavio Campaneschi, but getting a nice exit there. Paolo Di Conto, who momentarily might have shown a little gap to Flavio Campaneschi, had maintained his exit speed, and the front-running 5 are as you were. Marco Ardigo leads from Paolo Di Conto 2nd, Flavio Campaneschi 3rd, Mirko Torsolini 4th, Rick Drazen 5th, Arno Kozlinski 6th, Jorik Pek 7th. Patrick Hayek of the Czech Republic has moved up to 8th place by going past Anthony Abbas of France, who drops to 9th, and Bas Lammers, who I mentioned in commentary, in top 10. Well, we're on lap 12 of 18, and Marco Ardigo's lead is 0.9 of a second, aided by that fastest lap. And one of the things that was said about Marco Ardigo was, has he still got the desire that he had? Remember, 3 world titles for Marco Ardigo, but not for the last 6 years. And there goes the move we're anticipating. Oh, and it's very, very close and tight, and Flavio Campaneschi gets himself into 2nd place. Flavio Campaneschi moves into 2nd place at the expense of Paolo Di Conto, and Paolo Di Conto's battle to try to contain the Tony Kart drivers has been beaten there. And not only has Flavio Campaneschi gone through, but kart number 10, which is Mirko Torsolini, has also delivered a blow. All of this, of course, good news for Marco Ardigo. He just increases his lead at the front of the race. Well, Marco Ardigo wouldn't have been aware of that, as you were. He will just be concentrating on building his route forward. I was saying at the time of that pass, I have read in the karting press, is Marco Ardigo's desire still as strong as ever? Because it's 6 years since he won a world title. He's never won a gearbox title. Well, I did an interview with Marco Ardigo earlier in the year, and I asked him a similar question to that. You know, is there anything else that you've got to achieve in your career? And he said to me, you know, that was a long time ago. What I have to do now is win everything that I enter. Every time I enter a race, I want to win it. And if it's a big event and a big race, I want to win it more. Well, we're on lap 14 of 18 here at Sarno in the 2014 CIK FIA World Championship for KZ karts, the premier, the cream of shifter karts, gearbox karts on the short circuits of the world. And Marco Ardigo is being true to that little, not so much a promise he made to me as an assertion that he made to me. When I get out there, I want to win. Of course I've got the desire remaining. How would you race on as a racer if you didn't want to win the races you were in and add more titles to your name? Flavio Campaneschi worked hard for that second place. It wasn't pretty the way that he went through. It wasn't, if you like, a pristine piece of passing, but sometimes you've got to do it any which way you can. And Flavio Campaneschi, having had the disappointment of losing a relatively comfortable second place early on, has had to fight back the hard way. You see the difference on screen now. If I tell you in time terms, it's virtually 1.6 seconds. Nothing is guaranteed in karting until it's in the bag. But right now, you wouldn't swap places with anybody other than Marco Ardigo, bidding to be a world champion for the third time and having a World Cup title to his credit, bidding for a fourth world title. Flavio Campaneschi, having had a world championship to his name, looking as if it's going to have to be some mega disaster by his Tony Kart teammate Marco Ardigo that would deliver another world title to him here at Sarno this afternoon. But the podium's still open. Campaneschi second, Rick Drazen third, Torsolini fourth, Paolo De Conto, who battled so hard in second place for so long, now in fifth place. Jorik Pex, no, it's Arno Kozlinski sixth. Jorik Pex is seventh, he's dropped a place. Patrick Hayek eighth, Anthony Abbas ninth, and Jonathan Tonon of Belgium completing the top 10 because Bas Lammers has dropped out of the top 10 into 11th place. We're on lap 16 of 18. Marco Ardigo's lead is 1.689 seconds, and he just sets another fastest lap just in case you want any further evidence that Marco Ardigo is the best driver in this race. He sets another fastest lap, 1 minute 5.754. Well, if you lead a race by 1.69 seconds and set a fastest lap, it's pretty tough for the guys behind you. And now it does look as if it's podium places only. Flavio Campaneschi, kart number 14, relatively comfortable advantage over Rick Drazen, the European champion in kart number 1. Mirko Torsolini a little bit further back, and Paolo De Conto probably feeling now that his race is run. He gave a lot in that second place. There is Paolo De Conto in kart number 7, and probably you would think, the way the race has gone and the way the body language was, that a 5th place finish for Paolo De Conto is about as good as it's going to get. Hey, the top 10, no changes in the top 10 on lap 16. Ben Hanley up to 11th place. He started 32nd and has driven up to 11th place. A stunning drive by Ben Hanley in kart number 9. It's not going to get him onto the podium, but it might get him into the top 10 as yet. Douglas Lundberg 12th, Bas Lammers falls to 13th. But at the sharp end of the race, Marco Ardigo's lead just down a fraction to 1.55. But what's the loss of about 0.8 of a second when you had the advantage that you did? Your television pictures tell you everything you need to know. Not only that Marco Ardigo is leading, but his closest rivals are a long way away. And his closest rival is Flavio Campaneschi, his Tony Kart teammate. And Flavio has a second and a half to find to even close on Marco Ardigo. So on to the final lap. You would think it's a formality from here. This is Marco Ardigo. Dips his head against the wind resistance. This was the fastest part of the circuit. This is the center turn, turn 2. Flavio Campaneschi second, Rick Drazen third. But let's stay on this final lap with Marco Ardigo, working his way round this circuit here at Sarno, through Rossa, through Villeneuve, through Monza, and going down towards Vesuvio 1. This is Vesuvio 1, then a short straight taking him to a right turn at Vesuvio 2 as the pursuing drivers go past. Rick Drazen looking over his shoulder. That was Vesuvio 2. It's late in the lap now, and I think we're looking at a 3 times world champion, because Marco Ardigo comes through Grifoni 1, Grifoni 2, Grifoni 3, and now just has a long, easy right-hander onto the home straightaway. Settles himself, there's the checkered flag, and Marco Ardigo is the world champion in 2014 CIK FIA KZ.